The NFL season is almost upon us, and I'm going to throw a few predictions your way. To win the division, I'm taking the Eagles, the 49ers, the Packers, and Atlanta. And wildcard spot, it could go either way. I'm predicting it'll either be most likely the Cowboys, the Lions, and the Bears fighting for those two spots. I'm not saying. I think New Orleans still has a decent chance of it, but at the same time, they have their issues that they're trying to sort through. I would not be shocked to see them not make it. I will not be surprised if they fall short. And New York, why am I not picking the defending Super Bowl champions to go back to the playoffs? Well, they were 8-8. Last season the Cowboys and the Eagles went 8-8, and they had a lot of struggles last year with chemistry and defense. And the Giants barely squeaked into the playoffs at all last season. Yes, they got to the playoffs. They finished it off well, but I'm thinking that this year the Giants, they've lost a few pieces, not too much. I mean, yeah, Brandon Jacobs, he was part of the running game, but he's nowhere near as huge a factor as he was in years before. Manningham, he is a big-time playmaker. He can shine, but he always was inconsistent. And no one's afraid of O.C. Manure anymore. It's sad to say. He used to be one of the great ones. Now he's just kind of there. It's all about JPP. But I still think a lot of people are down on the 49ers, saying they're not going to be able to repeat last year's performance. But I still think they have one of, if not the weakest division in football. And it's gonna be a cakewalk for them. I would be shocked if they didn't go 6-0 in their division. And I think that they're definitely gonna guarantee the playoff spot just because they're playing with teams like the Seahawks, the Cardinals, and the Rams. Cardinals and Seahawks, they don't know who their quarterback is gonna be. Rams, they know who their quarterback is going to be, but they have no one on defense. Oh, wait, they just added Cortland Finnegan and Jeff Fisher. They've got there's some talent in that division, but I think right now the 49ers still look the scariest. What they did last year during the lockout with a brand new head coach, and now this year having all of last year behind them, having amped up the roster even further. Adding to that receiving core, adding depth to the running backs. Their defense is basically the same that it was last season. They still look like the strongest in that division. There's just too many questions with the other teams. And in the AFC, last year I picked the Ravens to win the Super Bowl before the season started. And I'm not going to go with that again. I'll still take them to win the division. Pittsburgh, new offensive coordinator, a lot of changes on defense. They got younger, which was a necessity, but at the same time, let's look at Pittsburgh's defense last year. They were one of the better squads, one of the more consistent defenses, and yes, they had a few bad blowouts, but they played well all season long. They made a lot of stops. They didn't make a lot of big plays. They weren't an exciting team to watch, like the Ravens, who had Terrell Suggs, but they were still a good squad back then. They had good quality veterans who understood how to play the game. So this is definitely going to be a little change. I picked them as a potential wild card spot, but I doubt that both them and Cincinnati will make the wild card. I predict that if anyone, it might be one of those two. Possibly Cincinnati, because they've had the chemistry and now they're moving forward knowing what weapons they have, as opposed to Pittsburgh, who've got a whole bunch of new faces. But one thing I can say about Pittsburgh, they still have a decent quarterback, and unfortunately New England, they have that blueprint for you. New England hasn't had a good defense in 5 years. Yet for the past 5 seasons, they've still been making the playoffs. They've had 2 Super Bowl appearances. So, that when you have a good quarterback, when you have an elite player like Ben Roethlisberger or Tom Brady, you're still in the hunt. Speaking of which, New England, they've still got all the great weapons on offense, and that alone makes them playoff contenders. I picked them to win the division, and I picked the Jets to come in a close second. By close second, I just mean they'll definitely be better than last year. The Dolphins and Bills, they don't scare me at all. But the Jets, they've got too many questions. I don't know how much longer Rex Ryan is going to last as the head coach. I honestly think that this should be considered a failed experiment. He did well when he first got there, but they have not lived up to the hype that they set for themselves. And it just doesn't really look good for them right now. We'll see how they do in the coming years, but if for me personally, I just think that they are highly underachieving when you consider the talent level they've had on that team. And there have been a lot of bad decisions on all levels of personnel with that organization. And outside of that, it's really hard to say. With in the AFC, the other playoff spots, I really don't know who's gonna get what. But I have to at least mention Peyton Manning with the Broncos. They made it last year with Tim Tebow. Peyton Manning is 10 times better than Tebow, so they definitely have a great shot. But I think Phillip Rivers is gonna have a bounce back year. Last year, he had a career high in interceptions, just one of the worst season of his career as far as turning the ball over. I think he would do much better than that. Plus, you look at the Chiefs, and this year they've got Jamal Charles back. They added Peyton Hillis. They look like a team that could make a splash. Could. I'm not picking them to go to the playoffs. I'm picking San Diego to win the division. Maybe Denver with a wildcard spot, possibly. Not banking on it, though. Either way, it's going to be a fun season to watch.